And that daughter-in-law is with me today. Her name is Cecilia Martin. And she has battled cancer, and boy, is she coming out on top. And you know what? She didn't lose her hair. And that's what we're going to talk about. There's actually something out there today that can help you keep your hair even if you're going through chemo. And the gentleman that thought of this method and this product is with me, Mr. Frank Fronda. He's from England, and I'm so glad to have him. He's going to talk about the thing that made him interested in really trying to help people keep their hair when they go through chemo, because it's a big hurdle. I know I've had many family members that have had to go through it. So that's what we're going to talk about. That's all I'm going to tell you, too. But we'll show you the product and give you a good background on it, and you can spread the word that for many, many people, they don't need to lose their hair when they're going through chemo.
All right, this is the last chemo cold cap victory dance. 2, 3, 4, bam, 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 bam.
I can't help but wonder what anybody thought if they just now tuned in. Thank you, Cecilia, for that. And that was Cecilia, that lady in the center, and I would dance too if I had gone through chemo. And the thing that intrigued me about that little dance was it looked like you actually had rehearsed.
We did about 2 minutes before we actually taped it, because my husband put the choreography together real quick. So he told us, you do this, and just quickly.
And those caps they had on remind me a little bit of a football helmet, but not quite. That's what we'll be talking about in just a few minutes. But before we do, I want to ask you, you had a form of cancer I'd never heard of.
Yeah, it is. What I found out when I was diagnosed with cancer, that there is just not just one form of cancer. There are, different subtypes of cancer, and mine happened to be what it's called a triple negative cancer.
That's the term I'd never heard.
Yeah, well, it's the one that it's missing all receptors that fuel the most typical type of breast cancer, like the estrogen, the progesterones, and the HER2. They are absent. So any targeted therapy for those hormones or the HER2, it doesn't react well. So the only thing that can treat it, it's basically chemotherapy right now.
Very aggressive chemo, I understand.
Yeah.
Okay, now, had you even thought about, I'm going to lose my hair? I'm sure that's not number one on your list when you're facing cancer.
But it is. It is such a crucial thing, because among all the things that are going on and the changes and, all the decisions that you have to make, you also have to decide, what is going to happen to my appearance. I'm the one, because people would tell you, well, there are beautiful wigs out there, don't worry about it. And they are, but I can't wear anything on my head. I can't even wear a hat. It just, everything bothers me. So that was really important to me, that I was able to keep a healthy appearance.
Now, where did you hear about the cold caps?
Actually, as soon as I got diagnosed, I started doing research online, and I think I may have been in one of the American Cancer Society website, and there was a blog of women that were talking about it. And so as soon as I saw it, I just started looking into it, and God just got me through it, and everything just went so smooth. I just prayed about it, and got to the point where I just He gave me all the answers to it, and but it wasn't easy though, because it's not well known in well-known therapy. So when I asked my surgeon, for example, he says, "Oh, don't worry about it. Don't even try it. It doesn't work." And so then I asked another oncologist, and told me the same thing. That doesn't work. And I think they're thinking about the earlier therapies that started in the 1980s, where just was different, and it just didn't work. So I finally met with my oncologist, the one that turned out to be the one who treated me for chemotherapy. And he told me, he says, if you would have come to me maybe a year ago, I would have told you not to even bother. It doesn't work. But right now, I have a patient who is using a type of cold cap, and it's working for her. So she's proved me wrong. So
and so this is kind of the way the word gets out.
Yeah.
And it was invented by a structural engineer, and he is here today. I would like to welcome to the set Mr. Frank Fronda. And when you hear him talk, you'll know he's from England. Just come on, Mr. Fronda. We are so happy to have you and congratulate you on a wonderful invention. Yes. So just have a seat.
Hello, Cecilia.
How are you?
Very well, thank you.
I felt an immediate kinship with you and your wife because my mom was born in England, and I drink a lot of tea. I think Britishers do that, don't they?
They certainly do. More tea than coffee, yes.
Yeah, and they stop in the afternoon to have tea, don't they?
High tea, they normally call it, yes. But yes, we have tea.
Oh, I think we should do that here. If I had the authority, I would require that all Americans stop and have high tea every day. But I'd like to know where in the world you thought about somebody going through chemo and losing their hair, and you got the idea that maybe you could do something about it.
Well, yes. I must explain that many of my relatives in Italy, my mother's Italian, are doctors and always wanted to be a doctor. But unfortunately, in my young days, you had to have Latin as a language before you could become a doctor. So that was out for me. So I ended up becoming, as you said, a structural engineer. And I was at a fete one Saturday afternoon. It was in about 1990, and I saw two little girls who were bored. And I said to the parents, why are they bored? They were sisters, and she said that they had nephrotic syndrome and that they had chemotherapy and it destroyed their hair. Now, nephrotic syndrome is an extra protein in the kidneys. And
now, was that a permanent hair loss for those little girls?
No, it wasn't. I think it would come back, but how the hair, when it comes back, is always damaged by chemo, so it may not come back as it used to, or perfectly normal for a child. So I decided that I would try and see if I could do something for the children so they could keep their hair during chemo. And it was children that I was really interested in.
I think maybe God saw to it that you didn't have Latin. You might never have thought of this if you had been a doctor. And basically, as a layman, let me try to explain. These are caps, as we saw on these dancing people, and they're very, very, very cold. Is the idea to freeze where the hair follicle is?
Yes, let me explain. The challenge was, after I did a lot of investigation, and I read medically, and in any event, was that we have to put the bulbs to sleep to stop them metabolizing. And to do that, you need a very, very cold temperature.
Did you say bulb?
Yeah, well, the hair has a bulb. The follicle is in the bulb of the hair.
Okay, there's a bulb and a follicle, and then the hair is in. Okay.
Yes, so you get the bulb, get the roots, and then you get the follicle sprouting from the bulb. That's how I explain it, actually.
Yeah.
And that's how it works. But if you slow down the metabolic rate, or if you like, slow down the mechanism for producing the bulb, then when the chemo goes in the bulb and out again, it does not harm that bulb so much that the person will lose their hair. But to do that, we required a very, very cold temperature, so cold that it would give frostbite. So I had to come up with an invention that would be so cold, not give frostbite, at the same time protect the bulb from damage from the chemo. And that was the challenge, which I took up, and I managed to achieve with a Krylon gel, which I came up with. I had to come up with a plastic that didn't crack with these extremely cold temperatures. Had to stay soft and pliable.
A lot to think about, huh?
Yes, but I managed it. I managed it in the end after about 4 or 5 years of research and study. And I came up with a Penguin cold cap.
Penguin cold caps. Let's put that website up and leave it up. And why don't you write it down? You might not need it right now, but you might have a friend or a relative that will be diagnosed shortly and want to get the word out. Now, what we're telling you today is not new. This has been widely spread in Great Britain for 15 years, right?
Absolutely right, yes. It was a long time ago. It wasn't accepted at first. In fact, I'll amaze you. I used to, when I first got excited about my findings and my invention, I tried to get it into the hospitals in England, and it wasn't accepted. They said, "Go away, it cannot work." You know? And that's what they said to me, and so I was on my own. And so I couldn't get in. And then one day I had a brainwave. I was sitting in front of the television, and I saw a program at Leeds Hospital. So I thought, I know what I'll do. I changed the name. So I picked up the phone to a local hospital, and I said, "Hello, this is Frank Fonda from Medical Specialties of California." Instead of Medical Specialties of the United Kingdom, I changed the name overnight. And I said, "I have an invention here that will almost stop chemotherapy-induced alopecia. In other words, hair loss." I said, "Would you like to see it?" And they said, "From Medical Specialties of California?" I said, "Yes." So they said, "When can you come up?" I said, "Well, when do you want me?" They said, "Tomorrow." I said, "I'm there."
We always
And I
knew
got
that
in.
America was superior.
Yeah, a name change got me off the ground
Exactly,
in the United
and if it
Kingdom
comes from
15
another
years
country.
ago. And it really did take off in the United Kingdom.
Now, you have one here, right?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
The idea, though, is it's got to be very, very cold.
It is.
And I assume as it's on there, the skull, whatever, would, of course, adapt to it and warm up a little bit, so you have to change them frequently during your chemo session, right?
Yes, we put the, as I put it, we put the bulbs to sleep with extremely cold temperature. And this Krylon gel will in fact do that, and it saves soft as well. And then it sort of, because there's a lot of heat coming off the head, this warms up, then it goes cold again. So therefore, the temperature is reduced, but not so cold as the cap feels when you put it on. In fact, when you first put the cap on, it feels extremely cold, but the nerve endings freeze out within about 3 or 4 minutes. And it feels quite warm, doesn't it, Cecilia? So it does feel cold, though.
And then you have to change them because you need to...
Yes.
What was it like the first time you put one on? Is this
It's
like
cold.
weird?
It's very cold. It gives you like a brain freeze for the first...
Like if you're eating ice cream?
Yeah, for like the first maybe 3-4 minutes. But then after that, you get used to it, you know, and then it just keeps switching them, and it makes it for a long day because you have to have them before the treatment and then for 3 hours after the treatment. So it is a long day, but it goes so fast because you're busy. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're just busy, and there's always something going on, and you do have to have a person to help you.
And you know something I've discovered interviewing cancer survivors, some of the men are just as, I don't know if the right word is frightened, but they don't want to lose their hair. I had a really young man on here one, and he had gorgeous hair. And he didn't want to lose it. So I think this, do you know of any men who have used it?
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Really?
The figures are, I think you'll find, 8% of men actually get breast cancer. 8%.
8% of men get breast cancer.
Yes, that's the figures that I've been told, 8%. And I do find that's about the right proportion of people who contact us. But although it's not every man who worries about it, but quite a few do worry about their hair. And prostate cancer, for men, of course, victims, they have Taxotere nowadays, and they come along and use the caps.
Now, you have, I guess I use the word invented or formulated a special gel.
Yes.
That goes in there. Is it something that retains that freezing degree that is required?
Yes. It took a long time to get the formula right, but we eventually did. That took quite a while to get this gel invented and made, because it's not glycerine gel. It is I call it Krylon gel, and it's like a mastic that you put around the bathtub, and it sets.
Let me hold it up to a camera on both sides. This, it's heavy.
Yeah, it is heavy.
It weighs 3
heavier
pounds.
than I thought.
It's 3 pounds in weight.
3 pounds,
Yes.
yeah. And it's nice and soft. Feels like a nice gel. And then this, And then I have watched some videos, and you can do that if you go online. The way you put it on is very important, and it works. I mean, it's across here, and it's got to be very snug, you know, to hold in that cold air.
But there's 6 Velcro straps, which makes it fit quite easy, and it fits all sizes of heads. And of course, you have 50 minutes of pre-cooling the scalp to put the follicles to sleep before you start the chemo, and that's a very important session. So it's pre-cooling. You wear it during the chemo and for a certain time afterwards, depending on the drug regimen and the strength of the chemo you're having.
Now, is it applicable for any type of cancer?
Yes, because we are dealing with people who have all sorts of cancer. They have chemo. So anyone having chemo, for whatever cancer, we look after the hair.
I made some notes that it prevents the absorption of the chemo drugs into the bulbs of the hair. That makes sense to me, and I'm not an engineer, so.
Yes, well, the hair bulbs are metabolizing normally without chemo, and it's sucking up all the nutrients in the bloodstream into the bulb. The bulb says, thank you very much, and it develops a follicle about 3/8 of an inch a month on average. Sometimes it's more. And so that mechanism is going on all the time. What you have to do, I discovered, was to stop that mechanism from working before the chemo starts, and that's why we put the cap on the head 50 minutes before the chemo starts. So we slow down the metabolic rate at which the bulb absorbs the cancer.
When you talk about...
I mean the chemotherapy.
Yeah, when you talk about the bulbs, I was born and raised in Colorado, and you'd have these bulbs in the ground, you know, and freeze during the winter, and then they would come back, you know, in the spring. And I think your statement is that the hair follicles go into hibernation, or at least I saw that on the website, that they hibernate, you know, just like a bulb or an animal, whatever, when it gets real cold.
Well, and
it preserves their life.
Yes, well, hair has growing seasons, oddly enough, summer and winter.
Right.
So that they do slow down and speed up depending on whether it's winter or summer. But that's little to do with what we do, what I do, what I came up with for protecting the hair from the chemo, which is nasty. You know.
I think it's just a wonderful story. You see these little children with no hair, and I think God inspired you to find a way, and it's beginning to take a little bit rooted in the United States now, I think. Also, I inquired that you really need this for the very first treatment. However, if you miss the first treatment, if you use it for the remainder of the treatments, you might lose your hair, but it won't be as damaged. Is that correct?
Yes. I mean, many people come to us, cancer sufferers who are using chemo. They find out this one session too late, so they will lose their hair. But I explained to them that, in fact, it's important to stop any more damage being done to the hair bulbs, because if you continuously bombard the hair follicles, the roots, the bulb with chemo, then you're doing a darn good job at trying to stop them growing back like they used to. So the best thing you can do is to say, listen, we've got to protect the rooting system. And my caps do just that.
You know, it's just an amazing thing to me that you've come up with this. They call you Cece, your relatives.
Yes.
Can you explain what it's like when a doctor says you've got cancer and you've got this strange kind that I'd have heard of? Was it just terror to your soul?
Well, yeah. I mean, it's just you feel like you're not in a real world, you know. And the thing, I didn't know anything about triple negative cancer, so I got the results. I was told that I had cancer. One of my sisters had been diagnosed a few years back, so I was a little more familiar with just a typical common breast cancer. So when I got the pathology report and I'm looking at it and I see this negative, I'm actually thinking it's a good thing.
Yeah.
Until I started doing more research and I met with my oncologist and realized it's not so good, you know, because it tends to be a little more aggressive and it tends to come back, it has a higher risk of coming back within the next 3 to 5 years. If it's found on time, which thank God mine was, then it's just treated with chemotherapy and it just reacts just the same as the other type of cancer. But it's really, it's unreal. It's unreal.
I know. And again, I remind you that the website for these cold caps has been on the screen for quite a while. I hope you've had a chance to write it down. And I have no doubt that everyone I'm talking to right now, you at least know someone who's going through cancer and perhaps the chemo, so you could perhaps get the word out. I just am so pleased to know about this and to be able to tell the viewers about it. Now, does it work for, we only have about a minute left, but does it work for everyone who tries it?
A very high percentage. Not, I can't say everybody, but on clinical trials that were carried out at Beaumont Hospital over a 2-year period, everybody on, for example, what they call TC, taxotere and cytoxin, did not have to wear a wig. I'm very proud to announce that. But it's not just that, it's the quality. I'm looking at your lovely hair. May I touch it? It's so it's
beautiful hair.
Beautiful, as it used to be.
It's actually a little better now.
Well, it does continue to grow when you're wearing the cold caps. This is important, not start to grow 2 months afterwards if it grows back as it used to. So everybody should try it, and we assess everybody, every single person with Penguin, who's going to use the Penguin cold caps. I've trained, will assess their chances of keeping their hair, and we are 95% normally accurate.
I know the information I got, the percentage was quite high for those who really worked on it. So this is kind of what I like to do on Home Keepers is just bring you some good news. This is really good news, and the good news is we'll be back later. But until then, please remember there's no higher calling than that of a home keeper. God bless you.